Welcome to the Trader, a Traitors podcast. My name's Matthew. I'm a writer working in TV development, and I am a handy faithful. The Trader features deep dives into every episode of the multi-award-winning hit TV competition series, The Traitors, as well as interviews with contestants from the shows. This season of the podcast is dedicated to the Traitors Australia Season 2, and today I'll be exploring Episode 2 and talking a little about the Traitors New Zealand with my guest co-host. More on that soon. First, it's time for some Traitors updates in TT News. The casting directors from the Traitors US took part in a Zoom panel for news outlet Deadline earlier this week to discuss how they found the perfect contestants for the first hit series of the show. Erin Tomasello, Jazzy Collins, Moira Paris, and Holly Osafat spoke at an online event called Contenders Television, The Nominees, and discussed how important diversity was in all sorts of ways. Tomasello said, "We wanted to find people that are good at lying, people that are good at manipulation, and maybe some people that are really gullible that will fall for it. Our first brainstorm was what job titles do people hold that maybe emulate that? Is it a retired judge or lawyer or a preschool teacher? That was the starting point for us." They also spoke about how TikTok was the perfect casting ground, as well as finding a cast who would work well with the celebrity contestants. If you're in the States or have a VPN, you can watch the panel video on deadline.com. And as the title of the panel, The Nominees, suggested, the reason the team were taking part was because the Traitors US is officially Emmy nominated. The casting team are up for Outstanding Casting for a Reality Programme. It's a tough category, though, as they're facing competition from RuPaul's Drag Race, Love is Blind, and Queer Eye. But fingers crossed and good luck to them. It was originally due to take place in September, but because of the writer and actors strike, it means that the Emmys now likely won't happen until later in the year, possibly even the beginning of next year. So I'll be watching out for news on that. In the UK, Traitors host Claudia Winkleman is piloting her own talk show. SROaudiences.com, a site that coordinates audiences for TV recordings, is recruiting interested viewers for the Claudia Winkleman Show. The description tells us the show is from the makers of The Graham Norton Show and is a pilot for a brand new show featuring Claudia Winkleman meeting star guests. Although we have no details of further recording of this show, if you would like to add your details to our mailing list here, we can email you with details of possible future recordings. The show will likely be filmed in London, although it might possibly be elsewhere in the UK. So if you want to be kept up to date, possibly on being an audience member, you can sign up at sroaudiences.com/shows. You know I already have. So if I become an audience member, I will be stalking Claudia for a podcast interview. It's time to meet my returning guest co-host. I'm joined on this episode by Joe Usher. Joe has hosted several previous episodes with me, is a huge Traitors fan, and knows everything there is to know about the X-Men, which he posts about on Instagram, and I believe every girl group there ever has been. Joe, welcome back to the Trader. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm very, very excited to talk about the next episode of The Traitors because we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording. It's really exciting to watch a season where, for the first time, like we don't know what's coming ahead. It's
No.
I'm just so used to watching episodes that I've already seen months ago and I know what's coming. So it's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's nice. I mean, you'd always want to have an idea of where it's going with the editing and that, but you don't fully know where it's going, which is nice. Then I don't have to watch what I say, which is nice too. Um, but yeah, it's really a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, you're right. Normally, I have to tell people, look, no spoilers, don't talk about what comes next. But we can't. We don't know what's going to come next. We've not seen any more episodes, so we don't need to worry about that. What did you think of episode 1 of the show?
Brilliant. I loved the banishment room. I loved getting to know people. I think like what Lindsay said, it was a bit confusing at the beginning of how do we all meeting,
Yeah.
and they're just all stuff randomly. It's like, and then they're getting on a bus, not a bus, the train, and then the cars, and it's just weird. But yeah, really, really, really liked it. And Roger is also a lot more comfortable now, which is
Yeah.
also very nice.
Yeah. And you're also watching the Traitors New Zealand. You're further ahead than I
Mm-hmm.
am. So we are going to talk about that a bit later on in the episode. So listeners, if you're watching the Traitors New Zealand too, stay till the very end and you can hear Joe and me having our say about what's going on there. Now, Joe, we always play a game on the podcast before we get into the episode. We are going to play. I've not asked you about this. I'm assuming you're okay. We're going to play the Trader Traitor again. Are you up for that?
Yeah,
Okay,
yes,
good.
I am.
Imagine you said no, I don't want to do that. For anyone listening who doesn't know how the Trader Traitor works, our goal throughout the episode from this point on is to tell one lie to one another. So Joe is going to lie to me. I am going to lie to Joe. We have to tell a lie that is a fabrication, a made up fact. Could be big or small. It could be about the traitors. Could be about ourselves. Could be about anything. For example, Joe could lie to me and tell me that he once fell in a lake, much like the contestants on today's episode. However, Joe's lie can't be a fake opinion, like saying he thinks or feels that the contestants who fell in the lake were idiots. At the end of the episode, we will then put our traitor hunting skills to the test and decide what we thought the other person's lie was. I'm always ready to lie. Joe, are you ready to lie?
Yeah.
Okay. Good to hear it. So I think we're ready to go ahead and talk about episode 2 of season 2 of the Traitors Australia. We start episode 2 then with a recap, a little reminder what happened in episode 1. We were reminded there were 20 guests. There were some reality television celebrities. We see a little clip of Annabelle getting very excited. I think I noted when I was watching this for the first time, even the fact that Annabelle gets quite a bit of screen time just in the little recap immediately made me think she's not going anywhere. If they're giving her this much time, she's a character they want us to pay attention to. So I already thought, even in this first 10 seconds of the episode, I thought I don't think Annabelle's going to get murdered. They're giving her too much screen time. We were reminded that there were 3 traitors picked this season. We've got Sam, Ash, and Blake. We were reminded that Angelica was murdered, which is a shame. I mean, she was barely in it. Poor Angelica did not last long. She's been murdered. She's gone from the game. And Corinne was the victim of the first banishment room. She was essentially banished for being too quiet by the looks of it. And we see this a lot of the traitors. First out usually is someone who's just quiet and unassuming, and the mob descends on them. And by the sounds of it, the traitors got together at the end of the episode in Traitors Tower, and their murder choices seemed to be either Elias or Annabelle. Joe, what do you think of the 3 traitors themselves? Sam, Ash, Blake. What are your thoughts?
Good choice. It's a good mix. I am surprised that they didn't put another woman in it,
Yeah.
but I think they may have done that to throw off. Obviously, because you're putting 2 women in, people are going to just go 2 of 1. So, but no, it's a good. I do like the mix, and I like the fact that they are very different personalities, but not all that. Because I think Blake is probably the calmest. Ash is very to the point, and Sam, as we will notice, is very devious, but I think he's way in over his head. But no, I think they're a good point. I do wish in the intro they wouldn't have put three traitors because as soon as I seen the little silhouettes, I thought there's only three of them. I do wonder why they didn't go with four or even five.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a good little mix and different personalities, which is always nice to see. I think when they're the same, it's just. Oh.
When you said it was a good little mix, is that a reference to the girl group Little Mix?
Do you know what? No.
What did you think of the first banishment? It was really split between Corinne and Sarah, and Corinne ends up going. Were you shocked?
I was on the edge of my seat and I genuinely thought that is the best banishment I think the show has seen throughout any of the ones that I've seen. It was just really on edge. You really didn't know what way it'd go. There was a part of me that was like, Sarah could go, and then I was like, Corinne could go, and then someone else's names popped in. I thought they're not going, but it's just adding, I think, a layer of excitement. And whether this is now the fact that people are coming in who are fans of this franchise, where fans are going to go in and they know this game, that makes me think, oh, was it maybe, again, we don't know what's been going on, but it was a very, very, very stressful punishment, and I actually felt really sorry for Sarah in the end.
Yeah, it was really intense for the first banishment.
It
I
was
thought it was
tough
great.
to watch some of that as well.
Yeah. So our second episode begins at breakfast. Keith is the first to arrive, and he does this thing where he sits in a position at the table where he can see everybody coming in because he wants to see the reaction. I thought that was really clever of him, actually. And he said he admits in his interview that they really messed up with Corinne, that they shouldn't have banished her. And we get a bit of Keith's backstory. We find out, we watch him doing like martial arts in this VT, which is unusual. And he tells us that he was an undercover cop for 20 years. It definitely makes me think it's very Nigel season one. It's giving me
Yes.
Nigel. And it makes me think that if he tells the other contestants that information, they'll probably be very suspicious of him. I think if he says, "Hey, I was an undercover cop," they're all going to think, bet you're a good liar. It's just like when someone on the Traitors tells other people they're an actor. Like in the UK one, and we had Maddie, and people were like, "What? You're an actor? You must be a liar then." So maybe we'll even see some of that in this episode. Who knows? Camille arrives next. We didn't really see much of Camille in episode one, so she felt like quite a new face at this point.
Yeah.
Keith is quite suspicious of her. I'm not really sure why. And then we get a little bit of her backstory. First of all, she tells us that she's a mom. A mom? That's very American. These wouldn't say mom in Australia, do they? She's a mum.
Say mum.
Yeah, she's a mum, and I just like the word mom. I think it's funny. She tells us that she's a mum and she's a retired federal agent. What? She's both? How could she have two things? So Camille talks and she suggests that they should be looking at the celebrities because she thinks at least one celebrity is going to be a traitor. And that's exactly what I said in the last episode.
Yeah.
So Camille and I are on the same page. Because it would be, I just think that would make sense that, that if they've got a celebrity cast, they're probably going to pick at least one of them to be one of the traitors. So I think that's a bit of a clue for the contestants. Keith also points out the portraits on the wall, and they've got these red crosses on them for Corinne and Angelica. Very much, UK traitors and US traitors. That's what they did there. We find out a bit about Paul. We get Paul's backstory. It's very, very dramatic. They show us this footage of him. We've got this really intense music. And he was in this shark attack. He says a bull shark attacked him while he was on military training. He's incredible. He's got a prosthetic arm and leg. And he's in better shape than I have ever been or will ever be. So already I'm like, he's awesome. He's very, very impressive. We have Sarah come in. Sarah's feeling a bit, of course, we just talked about Sarah. She was in that banishment room. She almost went in episode one. So she's feeling a bit regretful about yesterday. She's sort of thinking, maybe I need to change the way I'm behaving. What are your thoughts on Sarah?
I like that. I liked it from the minute that car scene, which was 7 years ago. That's all just thought book fan. I feel for that. I think, she's nailed one of them from the get-go. She knows She's
Yeah,
as Ash is a
she
traitor,
knows Ash is a traitor.
so she knows. Um, but I think I did worry yesterday, because not yesterday, when I watched the previous episodes, because you almost could see her feeling like she was gonna go. And I think when you watch this episode, you see a mum, and I think this is natural for anyone. When you've been up, you just shut up the next day and
Yeah,
just blend it. Um, but again, I think she could be a dark horse.
yeah. She definitely has. She's mellowed out for this episode, so I wonder if that will continue. I
And
know.
she's getting a lot of, oh,
Yep, on you go.
sorry, she's getting a lot of interview time as well. That's
Yeah,
something that I'm now from the whole Alex and thingy where she had the IVF. That is in my head with every single contestant. Now I'm thinking, are they saying something that no one else is saying?
yeah. I don't know if this is completely subjective or I'm just seeing what I want to see. I think in a lot of the promotion for the Traitors Australia season 2, the little clips that they put online, I felt like Sarah stood out a lot. Like I kept seeing her image, and that made me. So when I watched the first episode, I thought, oh, I recognize her. I've seen her in the trailers. So that makes me think she's either going to do really well or she's just a big character who's going to have a lot of storyline.
Yeah, I do like her though. I think she is good, and I think if she plays it this way and just blends in a bit more, she's gonna be fine.
Yeah. Something I noticed at breakfast as well is they do a bit more of this group arrival thing this time. Rather than everybody arriving one by one, they've definitely borrowed from other versions of the show where they, like, for example, Sam, Ash, and Ian all walk in together at one point. So they're doing that thing where they come in twos and threes rather than one at a time. Liam is talking to Ash and
Mhm.
he's giving an awful lot away. He says that he's talking about who he trusts and who he thinks are faithful, and he says he thinks Blake and Sam are faithful, and he says to Ash, "I think you're faithful. I trust you, even though I was a bit scared of you at first." So he's been like very, very open. He's been very trusting of Ash to tell her all these thoughts, and I sort of thought you need to be careful who you're talking to. Um, I mean, he could be completely. Maybe he actually does think Ash is a traitor and he's pulling one over on her, but I don't think so. I think he's maybe just a bit too trusting.
Yeah.
So needs to watch what he's saying. There's lots of chatter around the table about people not trusting Guyton. Basically, again, like we saw in the last episode, it's because he's an actor. I I just think it's such dumb reasoning. Like they're deciding who they think a traitor is based on their life outside of the game, not how they're behaving in the game. So you could come up with reasons for anyone being a good liar. Like, if somebody says, "Oh, a performer of any kind," you could say, "Oh, you're probably really good at lying." If somebody says, "I'm a teacher," you might go, "Well, you're probably really good at lying because you have to act a certain way in front of kids." If somebody says, "I'm a doctor," you could say, "You're probably really good at lying because you probably have to put on a brave face." And or somebody says they work in customer services, you could be like, "Well, I bet you're good at lying." So yeah. What do you think?
Well, yeah, because I think I was on that Mad yesterday where she came out as an actress and I was fuming. So it didn't help. But then I also thought of Claire in season one of The Traitors Australia, where they thought she was a lawyer and not
Yeah.
a person. And it's almost like, for me, I almost am at this point where I'm just like, don't even put someone's job application, just leave it out. It's almost like a fine line of, again, because actors are going in this, you could be an extra actor and just go in and you're an actor like Maddie was an extra. She wasn't an actor on that level. Whereas this guy seems to be quite a popular actor. He's a known figure, so it's probably a lot more on their side. They're probably just intimidated, maybe.
So we get down to the final two people who haven't showed up yet, and it's either Elias or Annabelle. And before we reveal who shows up, again, I've talked about this on the podcast so many times, but I have to bring it up again. I was convinced this was something they would change for season 2 going on, but they haven't. They do this thing where the last two people to arrive at breakfast are two faithfuls who were up for murder. And so if you're a really savvy viewer or a contestant who's watched the show, you'll figure out that the last two people to arrive at breakfast every morning are faithful. So I think Annabelle, now what happens is Annabelle arrives. Annabelle comes in, she goes, I'm alive. And again, I sort of thought, oh yeah, I knew it. Because you got a bit of screen time in that little recap, I figured out she's probably quite important. So she comes in. I wasn't really surprised. But I think, Annabelle said in episode 1, she's a big fan of the Traitors. She listens to podcasts, definitely this one. And she's seen the show. She knows how it works. So I bet Annabelle knows that she'll be sitting at breakfast if she's here from this episode on. She'll be sitting at breakfast and she knows the last two people who arrive every day are faithful, and the production have left them to last because they were the people that the traitors were discussing. So I wonder if this is going to help Annabelle do really well in this game.
Stick a pin in that for New Zealand, because there is actually a team there. Let's
Okay.
say that.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it is. I've had this issue with every. It was a while. I told you a while ago when I was Australian partner texted you going, I know what you mean now when you're saying them last two aren't. Like, even though they're all ganged up on them, you think they've just come in. And I remember saying to my partner, going, oh, this is what they mean, they're doing it. So yeah, this is the thing of fans coming in like an Annabelle. They're going to know this game inside out. So you're going to have to start changing some little bits, because it is going to, basically, you're almost going to have the players know. I did like that the doors were massive, so you could have just brought all of them in one go.
Yeah.
And just mix with it. That would actually be a bad idea as well, and bring people that were up for maids in.
Yeah.
So then you're not guessing, just have them all walk in. You can fit all that cast in that one door, but then it doesn't bring any anticipation on their minds.
Yeah. I'm just so surprised. I wonder if it is just because season 1 didn't have a massive viewership in Australia.
Yeah.
So maybe the producers think we don't really need to change it. Most people haven't seen it. The contestants probably haven't even watched it themselves, so they're not going to figure this out. But I'm telling you, Annabelle's going to figure it out.
I do have one thing about the Annabelle thing. It's interesting. If they'd have known she was a fan, would they have got rid of her that nice? Because as a traitor, you don't want someone knowing this game inside out. Even though Elias was getting on my wick. And I was glad he was gone.
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
Annabelle annoyed me, but I did think, I was like, she's this fan, and again, no one must know. Obviously, you won't want to go telling everyone, but eventually people are going to ask them, though, are you a fan of the show? She said that for the traitor, you want to get rid of someone who knows everything.
That's a good point, actually. That's quite good ammunition to get rid of her, because you might think she's too good at this. On the other hand, she might get rid of herself, because if she tells people, I love the show, I know how it works, I know how to play it, actually a lot of them might think, I bet you're a really good traitor then, and they might banish her for that, because they think she knows how to play a traitor really well.
Yeah, I did think her outfit was a choice as well, coming in, that's all.
Yeah. So Elias is gone, and we hear Blake telling us a little bit about why they picked him. He says they chose Elias because it was a good opportunity to keep the faithful guessing. He says they thought that this would cause a little bit of chaos, make everybody really paranoid. And probably because Elias had very vocally picked out Guyton at the banishment room in episode 1, the traitors maybe figure out that'll be a good way to get everyone's attention on Guyton, which it does. And Guyton at breakfast points out, look, if you speak up too loudly, like Elias did, the traitors will just get rid of you. But then maybe he's making himself look like a traitor by saying this, so it's all getting a bit muddy already.
Mm-hmm.
Roger arrives. Roger's very casually dressed in this episode. He's got just like a sweater on. He's like incredibly handsome. He messes with them by reminding them that they banished someone for being too quiet, but then the traitors murdered someone who was very vocal. And he tells them about their mission. He says they're going to be in their blue and red teams again. He kind of implies that they can switch teams. He says something that made me think that they could change if they wanted. And if I had spent even more time doing my research, I would have paid attention to who was in what team, but I couldn't remember, and so I don't know. But Roger implied they could change if they wanted. Oh, and something I realized, I have to address this. So, in episode 1 of the podcast, the previous episode, my guest co-host Lindsay, she said, "Oh, I bet they didn't really pick their teams because they came down the stairs and their names were on the back of all their tracksuits. So their teams had obviously been assigned for them in advance." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right." But then afterwards, I thought, "No, wait a minute. They probably just all have a red and a blue tracksuit. So that's so much more simpler. So I don't know why I didn't think of that."
Mm, I do wonder why they're doing teams. It's a very interesting thing. I mean, talk about because last season it was just the reds, and I'm glad it's the blue tracksuit. But I do wonder why they're doing teams a bit more because I feel as this whole series is going to be a team challenge thing. But then maybe I've just thought, why the shields?
Yeah, I think it's just the shield. I think they're just going to use that the whole season. And yeah, the challenges, I think they just want to give the challenges a bit more purpose. So as well as winning money, every challenge is also to help your team try and get the shield, which is a really big change from season 1 of Australia. Because in season 1 for Australia, they would do their silver mission and get money. And then they would do a totally separate mission to find out who was going to win the shield. But it seems like they've changed it all now. They've really gotten rid of it.
And the UK did do these teams, I think, because UK was so long ago, and it feels like it was only 2 years ago. It was only done 17 months before. But the only thing is, I think it's because there's the tracksuits involved. I'm forgetting it's actually being done. If there was no tracksuits and it was just in everyday clothing, I probably would never even have thought what would the team colours. But they're probably getting sponsored by Adidas, which makes probably the most sense.
Yes. So we see some discussions around the hotel. Sam is talking. Sam's a traitor, and he thinks that he's doing really well. He thinks nobody suspects him. And he starts talking to some of the others, and he starts telling people that he suspects Guyton. He's putting that out there. But then there's this really weird moment where he's in his interview, his MIV. He's talking to the camera, and he says that to get to the end, he's going to have to make himself look very, very trustworthy and get the trust of all the other contestants. And to do that, he's going to have to murder a traitor, and he wants to do it tonight. He wants to already, in episode 2, get rid of a traitor. Now people listening can't see this. Joe's holding his head in his hands right now. So, what are your thoughts on Sam's play here?
Why? Why now? I mean, one, production on it's actually going to be thrilled that you say in the name because they put so much time and effort in picking news. You want to get rid of her now when she's done, as far as we're aware, nothing wrong. She seems popular. She actually seems, for someone who has a lot of money, quite nice, not up her own arse in that respect. She doesn't seem like very stay away from me and more. She actually is getting involved with everyone, which is nice. And I felt sorry because he's ripping into it and she's just laughing and having fun. And you think, but then a part of me thinks she's probably works with people like you, so she's not stupid.
Yeah.
Like if she finds out, he's in trouble.
Yeah, definitely. And it will end up causing some tension later on. But yeah, it's really weird. We've seen traitors turn on one another before in the show. In fact, I've said more than once, I think it's basically inevitable. I think as a traitor, at some point, you're going to have to turn on your fellow traitors, unless you're really going to all try and make it to the end together. But there's times when you have to go with the flow and you have to go with what the faithful do. So if everyone else is going to vote for one of the traitors and you want to blend in, you're going to have to just go along with it. But this early on, episode 2,
it is interesting because, like you say, there's no. Again, I always think of Alex and Tom from the UK, where traitors, how would that have worked? Would they have took themselves? I think it can be done in certain circumstances, but at this minute in time, and again with these personalities, this group, in fairness, I actually think could go far if he hadn't said that, because this is what I mean by it's a perfect mix. He don't, well, from what I seen at the beginning, he didn't seem someone that throw someone under the bus. it was funny how I suppose the fans don't think she would have done that, but it's like I think now she has to do that. She doesn't have a choice because, and to be fair, his reasoning was a bit better because we haven't seen a dragon about a Johnson there
Yeah.
at all. So I'm thinking, is he just clutching at straws to keep himself? If I was him, I'd have went like maybe. I mean, I think he was talking to Luke, talking about this, but I'd just put Luke's name out there because out of anyone, he's the one that I genuinely, when I watched the first episodes, I thought he was going to be a traitor.
Yeah, yeah. So Sam seems to he's made his mind up and he wants to go ahead and try and get Ash out. There's a little scene where he talks to Annabelle,
Oh.
and they say, "How you going?" Which is just my favorite Australian thing ever. And Sam says to Annabelle, "I believe we can work together. I think we can win this game." He says, "I'm going to say a name, and you have to promise me it won't leave your mouth. It's going to shock you a little bit." And then he goes, "Ash." Um, when I was watching this for the first time, I misheard it. I didn't hear him saying, "I'm going to say a name." I just thought he said, "I'm going to say something, and I promise me it won't leave your mouth." I thought he was about to tell her he was a traitor. I thought he was going to go, "Look, I'm a traitor. Don't tell anyone. Work with me, and we'll get." So I was watching it, going, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening." But then I had totally misunderstood it. Anyway, he says, "Ash." I I don't think it's that big. He's saying it to her as if like, "You're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe what I'm about to say." I'm like, well, why? It's not that big a shock. I mean, she's quite a big personality. Sarah already called her out in the last episode, so it's not that unbelievable. Um,
Mhm.
and there's a little clip of Sam in his interview again saying, "Bye bye, Ash." I I don't know why he thinks that saying Ash's name to one person is going to be the end of Ash. I think he's a bit confident.
And again, he's telling the person who's the biggest fan of this show. Anybody but her would have made sense because she could easily think
Why
either
is he
you
doing
are
this? Yeah.
is why you saying her name this confident because he said it with the confidence. He wasn't going, I think it might be Ash. He was like, it's Ash. And it's amazing he made that just went, I'm a tracer. So it's interesting. It felt very uncomfortable watching it, and it actually, I think it feels even more uncomfortable later in the episodes when I'm like,
Yeah.
this girl that I found really annoying, I'm actually starting to feel really sorry for because it's not, it's almost like a pressure, like a peer pressure of shut up. And it's like, you're going to throw her under the bus, but I kind of think she's cleverer than him. I think he's way in over his head now because
Yeah.
he can't backtrack from her because she'll think, what's the on about? Why is he saying this and he's not saying it? You're a traitor.
I agree. I thought it was just too confident too early, and yeah. I think if he says that to the wrong person, like Annabelle, they might just look at him and think, "Why are you saying that so confidently? There's something is not right here." So I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if he's doing himself any favors.
Yeah.
So we move on to the silver challenge. Roha is loving his tracksuit. He says he feels snatched. Um, right, I'm going to put this out there now. I've got my traitor's cloak, as you might have seen on, if anyone is following on Instagram, on the Trader podcast, I've got my cloak. I think I now need a red Adidas Traitors tracksuit. I mean, I think the navy ones are a bit nicer, but I think the red ones are a bit more iconic. So that's what I'm putting out into the universe. I mean, it's not totally unreasonable. You can get them on the Adidas website for quite a reasonable price. You can even get your name embroidered on the back on the Adidas website. So I think my Christmas is sorted. So, if anyone wants to donate, I'd be quite happy to take that. This mission, this must be the lake from season one, the swimming challenge. It looks the exact same when they all had to dive. Remember Nigel and Angus go for the shield?
Nearly drowning them.
Yeah, I think it's the same setting. I'm pretty confident about
It
that.
looks it. I thought it was very Crystal Maze. Very
Yeah,
Crystal
yeah,
Maze.
it is.
I this challenge was really fun. Sorry, it was. I actually really. I think it was just again. It's and maybe this is why they're doing teams so they can suss each other out more. Because last season it felt like they were all working together, so it made management a bit sometimes a bit like. Whereas this one, they just maybe it's more put them together and see how they go in challenges, so they've got reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun challenge. Roger tells them it's a pyramid scheme, quite literally. There's $32,000 available. They basically have to collect pieces, big pieces of a 3D jigsaw, I guess, by rowing to them in the middle of this lake, gathering them, bringing them back to shore. Some other members of the team will build them together and try and figure out this pyramid. They've got a 20-minute time limit. It's $16,000 a team. Immediately, as soon as they start, it looks like the red team are doing pretty well. The blue team, not so much. Why did they choose Blake to row that goddamn boat? He is immediately struggling. Clearly has never been in a boat in his life. He must have we don't see it. He must have been like, I'll do it. And they've gone, all right, okay, you do it. And then he gets in the boat and he's like, an oar? What is this? So like he just doesn't know what the hell's going on. There's a bit where Annabelle just screams to them, well done, Luke and Black, you're doing an amazing job. And then quietly she just goes, you're not, you're really fucking this up. And she says in her interview, I'm not a Trident, but I could murder Black. And I laughed so much. She's given really good comedy gold this season. I feel it. Blake is somehow falling over while sitting down. Like, what is he doing? Why did he volunteer? It's almost as if he thought that as a traitor, his task was to sabotage the mission. And he's like totally misunderstood. And then not only is he falling over in the boat and can't row it, they sink. They actually sink the boat. Like, I think production must have been like, we didn't even know that was possible. Like, how have they sunk in the goddamn like? So it's insane. It's amazing television. Like, I couldn't stop laughing. The red team are already getting all their pieces together, and then they just start helping the blue team because they're so far ahead. I mean, the money's all shared, so I guess they're like, well, we might as well get both teams finishing the pyramid in the time. Ash, much like episode 1, Ash is just shouting at people doing the building. So, and for a moment, I actually wondered, are we going to get some weird, unexpected win for the Blues? Because the Reds have been nice and they've gone over to help the blue team. Are things suddenly going to change and they're going to regret it? But that doesn't happen. It's fine. Simone the wrestler. I feel like I can only call her Simone the wrestler. I just can't call her Simone. So Simone the wrestler puts the flag on top. The red team win. The blue team are in their flop era. Guyton, at the very end of the mission, says that he's wishing for the shield because he thinks he's going to need it tonight. Did you note this? Didn't even occur to me. I bet you've noticed this, Joe.
Go on.
The shield has changed its function from season 1. Now the shield only protects you from murder, not banishment. Whereas in season 1 of the Traitors Australia, it protected you from both.
Thank you. When that happens and they mentioned it, I thought, why change the rule? There's a reason. I said there was a reason, I think, why it went from banishment, because in Norway, in Holland, not Norway, in Holland, someone had won it. And it was a waste because they went from that episode when they got the shield. So I think they put that rule in. And then to take it, it's like either they want it to have more risk and reward, but I just think it hurts because it ruins in a way. If you know someone's getting piled on and they're going to go, they're going to get boosted out unless something else gets mentioned that we don't know.
Yeah.
But I was thinking when that happened, I was saying to my partner, and I was like, sure, there's section on banishment. Why have they got rid of it? Like, it wasn't in the UK and it wasn't in the US. Hope it does go in STEM because I think it just gives you an extra layer. And the play in the system, again, which I don't like, and it makes me think Annabelle's a fan because she came up with the idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, stop it. I don't think production want this to happen because it is ruining it for at least, I mean, there must have been about 8 players because there was funny how I was thinking, how's the boxes going to work?
Yeah.
Because I thought when they were doing it, I was like, are they going to open it? Are they going to shut it? And obviously they leave it open. But I was like, when she said that, I thought, oh, not again. I hate this really needs to like and just say to them, look, you cannot do this.
Yeah. It just makes me think I liked it better in the first season when the shield protected you from murder and banishment, but also you won the shield in front of everybody, so everyone could see who had won it. I just don't understand the point of making it a secret thing where you go into a room on your own and and you can decide whether or not to tell someone. I don't know what the point is.
The only way they could do it, and I think it was in Holland, it was like a necklace. So they had to put it over their neck.
Okay.
So you could make it more like a necklace feature or a bracelet where you have to wear it. And then obviously if you're doing a challenge, take it off and give it to Roger. But I think
the
it
shield does have a chain, so I think it is designed, you're meant to wear it like that, but they just don't ever do it.
Well, maybe just tell them not to do this and wear it as a necklace, because it does ruin the game as a viewer, and you're thinking, well, the other two, it's interesting to think you have Blake on one team. Was Sam on Blake's team or Ash's team? It would have been interesting.
Sam was on the blue team, which was not the same as Ash. Oh.
So because Blake was blue, wasn't he, as well? He was in the boost.
Yeah, Blake was in the blue team as well.
Because then I remember thinking, if the other team win, I'll be angry because they just can't have the way to help them. And I thought Ash could use that as a good way of going, look, I didn't have to say help them. It makes me look less like a traitor. So I was always thinking she could have worked that. But no, I think with this shield thing, it's a waste. But as the traitors, one was on one team, the other was on the other. They could basically they could have actually worked around it and thought, let's get rid of one of yours because you literally stunk in that mission. And I loved the Roger saying the Titanic reference. I thought that's funny.
It did. That made me laugh. So we get to the armory then. We're back at the hotel. And Simone gets the shield. Again, Simone the wrestler has the shield. She is the shield queen. Simone the wrestler, shield queen. She says that she just feels where it is. Like she just senses it. I'm thinking like maybe she's also like a bit, is she invoking Chloe from season 1, the clairvoyant? Speaking of which, Traitors New Zealand, we have a psychic there. We'll come to it. Guyton doesn't have the shield, obviously, because Simone the wrestler won it. He says he's not worried about being murdered. He's just worried about banishment. He knows that he's going to have to make it through because people are talking about him. He knows what the rumors are. I wonder, they don't really show us this episode. Do you think the red team, do you think they make a secret pact again, like in episode 1, where they say, let's not tell anyone? Because they just never reference it again for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, it is annoying because, again, it puts everyone on a weird trajectory. If you're in that banishment room and someone from your team's pissed you off, you're not going to know if they've got the shield. So it would annoy you if someone did annoy you. They was saved and you wanted to murder them, but you weren't sure because you've all agreed on that now. So you can't exactly go vote them. But yeah, I think they must say one. But I do wish production would just get involved and say, stop it. Because I don't think they're liking this rule.
Yeah, it's a really weird element that I think they've tried to. I think they've looked at the UK series and thought, right, UK series was a huge hit, millions of viewers, it's done so well. We need to emulate that. So let's just try and copy as much as they did. But this is one element I just don't think they should have copied, and it always annoyed me in the UK Traitors. But anyway,
they shouldn't have been allowed to copy it either. I think in the UK you could let it go because it's the first aired one, so you think, well, let them get away with it. And there's not much money on the line for them, so just let them. But now this game, and especially when you think there's so much money and they're earning it so easy and quick, make it hard for them. Yeah. It's not meant to be a joyride to just get to where you want them to be stressed, not being like, oh, I have to do the game. Because, like, what's the point in being there? I was quite disappointed in Annabelle doing that as well.
I mean, I understand it from her perspective. If I was playing the game, I probably would go, yeah, let's play the system. There's a loophole here.
True,
but just as a viewer, I find it quite pointless.
And Simone, as much, again, I'm a huge women's wrestling fan as well. So I was almost like, oh, I'm starting to like it a bit. And I do know bits of you anyway, because you've worked on the American indie circuit, but you don't need it at the minute because we haven't seen you that much.
Yeah.
So it's not like your name's coming up unless you've done something that we haven't seen.
Yeah. So uh, they have some discussions in the house after the armory. Guyton comes into a room and basically announces that he's a faithful. I wonder if it maybe seems too desperate. It's
Yeah,
just so difficult. Everything that you say and do in this game, you must be second guessing yourself. So you want to tell people that you're faithful and defend yourself, but you know that you're making yourself look guilty by doing that. And he realizes that to save himself, what he really ought to do is start throwing out suggestions and accusations about other people. So he suggests, like you said earlier, he suggests maybe Luke could be a traitor. He says, well, Luke's tall, handsome, he's friendly, everyone likes him. That would be the perfect people. That would be the perfect pick for a traitor from the production. Camille picks up on that, and she also says she's noticed Luke is trying to make pacts with everybody. So Luke is on her radar, we could say. I think Guyton seems to genuinely believe that Luke's a traitor. I don't think he's just making it up to get the heat off himself. I think he actually does think that.
yeah.
And then Sam goes ahead with phase 2 of his Get Ash Out plan. He speaks to Guyton. He tries to get Ash's name out again. He says that she's the most powerful person in the game. And he says with all her group. I don't really know who all her group are, but we've got this sort of cross cut to Ash. She's sitting outside, she's round a table, and she's with Hannah, Paul, and Roha. And then there's this really great little clip because Ash is talking and she messes something up. She has this slip of the tongue, and it's not clear who she's talking about. And I watched it about 5 times over, and you can't really hear the audio that well. But Ash says this, and I'm like, oh yeah, that could be a good idea to work together as traitors. And then Hannah goes, as faithfuls. And Ash realizes what she said the wrong word. She meant to say faithfuls, and she said traitors. But they all just laugh. And she goes, oh guys, don't get me for that. And they just sort of laugh about it. So it seems like she got away with it. But it's and you could so easily just say the wrong words. Sarah did it in episode 1. She said murder instead of banishment. And it was just a slip of the tongue and it was mindless. But with Ash, you do wonder, is you subconsciously, did you say the wrong thing because you are a traitor and that's what you were thinking about? It's very interesting. So Sam, he's spoken to Guyton. He's trying to get Guyton to go for Ash, and now he's on to Liam. And he's saying to Liam, oh, we've got to do this blindside thing. He's trying to recruit him. Annabelle is reporting back to Sam, and she's saying, yeah, I'm trying to recruit people as well. I'll try and get people to vote for Ash. Let's do this. So Annabelle's kind of like buying into it, I think. So Sam is really trying to mastermind and puppeteer everyone. He's trying to get Guyton and Luke on board to vote for Ash. He tells Guyton and Luke, like, you're at the top of everybody's lists, so it would be in your best interest to vote for Ash and get attention on her. I just thought that Sam is playing it too obviously. He's getting too ahead of himself. He just needs to. He's been so risky. This is really dangerous. What do you think?
Well, this is where he's so stupid because if he's shut his mouth up at the beginning, he could have actually have gone on to Blake if he wanted to, because Blake makes more sense with the challenge, the boat sinking. You could have really and that's actually more legit because everyone's seen it. What you're saying about Ash, no, and I think this might have been where about 24 where she's giggling with the glass of wine in her hands, and I thought maybe that's why they're laughing because she's drinking as well, and you think, could she be a bit drunk? And that's why she was like, but again, you just feel sorry because when they tell her she's laughing, I actually didn't hear her say the Tracer thing at all. So when you said that, I was like, oh, she's lucky, but helps her got a glass of a drink in her hands because it can be.
She could blame her on that.
Yeah, but with him, it's so stupid because if he'd just waited now, you could have just went Blake's the traitor and got Blake out, because I almost think with Blake, you're going to have to stab him in the backside. I don't think he's going any other way.
Yes.
And who are they going to get on sides as well? Who are they getting on sides with Annabelle? Because everyone seems to be around her.
Yeah. Sam said, "Oh, Ash she's popular, she's powerful, and she's got a group around her." But I sort of think, is that a good enough reason to suspect
No.
her of being a traitor because she's popular? It's straight. And I also thought, what if this works? What if Ash does get everybody? Sorry, Sam. What if Sam gets everybody to vote for Ash, and she's banished, and she stands up and she says, "Yeah, you got me. I'm a traitor," and they all go, "Yeah, we got a traitor." Won't they then look at Sam and go, "How did you know that so confidently?" I just think Sam's really putting a spotlight on himself. They'll be like,
It's
how did you
Russian
figure that
roulette.
out?" So I don't know if this is going to work.
And again, I just think with Blake, it would have, because we were going to say something about Blake then, sorry, about when I was saying he should have went for. I think
Yeah,
if he'd went for Blake, it'd have been a legit reason as well. No one would have thought there's no sinister behind it. He did ruin this challenge.
yeah,
Well, he didn't ruin it, but obviously it ruined it for his team. So could it have been seen as, oh, Traitors just sunk your boat? Like it would have made more sense to go for him than it was her because she's an easy target now anyway, but she would have been an easy target because she's quite outspoken. Blake's someone who's a bit like Sarah at the minute, just blends in it.
hmm yeah,
So you would have had a good idea to get rid of him if you needed to. Because traitors, like you say, they're going to have to turn on each other because there's some traitors that will never get picked to
yeah,
be
yeah,
banished.
absolutely. So we head into the banishment room right after this. I feel like it's really tense considering it's only episode
Yeah.
two. There's already this fantastic atmosphere being created. Roger talks to them. He tells them that they've got $56,000 now in the pot. He says it's better than 40K, but not quite as good as the $72,000 they could have had, and that today's mission was literally a sinking ship. There's At this moment, there's a shot of Sarah laughing, and I realized then, oh, she's what a difference. She's barely been in this episode compared to just episode one. She had like 8 votes, about 8 votes. She almost went, and now she's barely really been in this episode. We've not seen much of her, so it's such an interesting shift to other characters. Roger makes his joke about Titanic, like you said. Again, everybody they're laughing, they're in a good mood, and then it's just such a mood shift within seconds when he tells them, "Well, by the way, you remember you failed at last banishment." Um, so they start to talk about things. Paul suggests that if anyone's worried about themselves tonight, they should start by defending themselves. Uh, Luke speaks up. Luke suggests that it's strange that Elias was killed off the night after throwing the spotlight at Guyton, and therefore maybe Guyton's a traitor. He's sort of saying, Guyton, did you kill Elias because he almost caught you? But and Liam goes along with that as well. I just think surely it's too obvious. Like, if Guyton was a traitor, would he really have done that?
No, but you're not you're not going to bring, and I don't know whether in New Zealand this, because I'm thinking this was said somewhere, and it was basically, if you're a traitor, why would you put yourself out there? You're not going to be, I'm a traitor. I mean, I'd love to swap them one day where they go, I'm a traitor, and where they go, and I'm a faithful, I'd love. That's like, but why would he? Why would he put himself out there? It's so stupid. Like, yeah, he's an actor, but there's also money on the line, so to think he wants to risk it. I
Yeah.
did feel for them in the Spanish table, actually.
And Guyton reiterates what you've just said. He
Mm-hmm.
says, "Yeah, I'm a really good actor when I've got a script." He says, "I'm good when I've rehearsed and I've planned something in advance." He says, "I've had no rehearsal for this. I'm just playing a game like you all are. I don't know what's coming next. I didn't know whether I was going to be a traitor or a faithful. There's no preparing. This is not the same thing as me acting in a TV show that you've seen." So Keith asks, "Well, Guyton, who do you think is a traitor?" And Guyton suggests Hannah, Paul, and Luke. So far, it seems like Sam's plan to get Ash out just isn't going anywhere. Like, no one's talking about Ash.
No.
Guyton says, again, he said this earlier in the episode, he says Luke is lovable and popular, and he's been on reality TV shows. He's been on Survivor more than once, so he's got experience in this sort of arena. Camille then steps in. And Camille says that Luke is on her radar because she didn't say that. I'm just saying that because he said that he wanted to vote for Ash. And then Luke goes, "No, I didn't." And Ash is like, "What's going on?" So she looks totally shocked and obviously paranoid because she is a traitor. And we see the shot of Sam, who's just looks like his interior monologue is, "Oh shit, this is not going the way I thought this was going to go. This is going to turn on me." So Camille's insistent that Luke said that. She's going, "No, Luke, you did. You said that you were suspicious of Ash." And the conversation doesn't really go anywhere. Like we don't really get to the bottom of it. We sort of drift away from it. Luke kind of just moves back to Guyton and he says, "Look, I'm going to vote for you." He says Guyton couldn't look him in the eye earlier on, and he was trying to get him to vote for someone else. I think he means Ash. He just doesn't say it. And then Guyton's going, "No, I wasn't." Again, Sam looks so nervous. Sam is about to be rumbled with his get Ash out plan. And there's just this amazing series of shots here. So we've got a shot. Sam looks at Annabelle and just shakes his head. He's basically saying, "Cancel that plan. Don't vote for Ash." Annabelle then like drops her head because she's like, "Oh God, well, if I'm not voting for Ash, who the hell am I going to vote for?" Gloria and Liam are kind of look like they're watching on. Like I think they were part of the plan as well. They were maybe going to vote for Ash, but they're seeing this interaction, this silent interaction between Annabelle and Sam, and so they're like, "All right, there, something's changing. We're not going to vote for Ash." I think it's like there's some sort of secret code between them, and the code is just saying, "Abort, abort, don't vote for Ash."
I felt that sorry because with Ash, she didn't even know this was going on,
No.
and there is a part of the thing you do feel sorry for her because, like I said before, you've not seen her do anything, just been having fun. And for her just to have this bombshell drop, being like, "What?" And then to have Sam get away with it, I was livid. But I actually looked at Sam and Annabelle in a different way. I felt very uncomfortable, like it was like, "Shut up." Like I felt he was being more aggressive towards her in a
Okay.
way, and she was about to because she does cry, which I want to get on that because that was just I don't know whether that was weird editing, but I thought he was being more. I thought it was more shut up, don't mention a name. More than cut it, I felt there was an anger there of you say this, I'll vote you out. Like because obviously he's a traitor and he took that bit of that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was thinking, I remember saying to my partner, thinking this is uncomfortable to watch because she looks scared and uncomfortable and sad in a way. Like, have I got myself in too deep with this person? Am I trust? Again, we did what she's thinking, but I didn't even notice Gloria and that would have been in that pack because we didn't see even them get, unless that's who Annabella tried to speak to. And I want to say Gloria looked different about 4 times. I didn't even recognise her. She had the afro, she had the forms, and she had a different name. I was like, "Do you remember her?" I was like, "Who's she?" I was like, "That's Gloria." But no, I felt very sorry for her because it looked like he was like, it was more like a, not a bully, but someone who's saying, "Don't say this and get me into trouble."
Yeah, yeah. So the votes begin. We reach a point where Guyton has 3 votes, Luke has 1 vote, and Ash does get 1 vote from Guyton. Guyton votes for Ash. And there's lots of confused faces at that point because people just weren't really expecting that. Annabelle then is literally crying because she turns over her slate and she's voted for Guyton. And so she's really, really upset by this. But there's a brilliant bit of comic relief because Hannah then just goes, "He doesn't actually die, right?" and everyone like laughs and it kind of breaks the tension. It was giving me complete Kate Chastain vibes from US Traitors. Very that.
I can't.
And then the rest of the votes pile in, and basically every other vote now is for Guyton. And we end up with Guyton on 14 votes. And then Luke and Ash have 1 each. Now, I have noticed something in this banishment room scene that blew my mind a little bit. There is some major editing fuckery going on, right? When they go around the table and they reveal all the votes, they show us people's votes in completely the wrong order from where they're sitting, if you watch it. So the vote begins with Camille. Camille is the first to vote. On Camille's right is Keith. So we're going all the way around from Camille, and we should come back to Keith. Keith should be the last person to vote, but he's not. We see Keith's vote way before that. So I watched it several times, and yeah, they just start showing us the votes in a totally different order from where they're sitting. So we just see votes from all over the table at various points. It's really, really strange. I've never noticed that before in the Traitors. As far as I'm aware, they always show us it. Roger or Claudia or Alan, whoever the host is, they'll pick a particular person to begin the voting, and then we see them move around the circle. I've never seen them cut and edit between. So it just makes me wonder, why have they edited this way? I don't know. They obviously wanted to get that bit of Annabelle crying at a particular point. It's really strange. So for example, when Sam votes, Sarah's on his right and Hannah's on his left, but we've already seen Hannah's vote earlier. It's really strange. But there's another brilliant moment in the banishment that was really funny actually, because Liam votes for Guyton and he says, "Guyton, I appreciate that I got to meet an actor," and Roger just standing there like, "Thanks a lot." Like he doesn't even need to say anything, but everyone sees his face and they laugh, and it's a really nice, funny moment again that sort of breaks the tension. It was great. So Guyton has 14 votes. It's this landslide. Sorry. He actually gets 15 votes because Sam is the last to vote, and Sam turns over the slate. And again, maybe that's why they showed us it in the wrong order. I think they were building up to what's Sam going to do. Is Sam going to vote for Ash and look like an idiot? So maybe that's why they've spliced it in the wrong order. But anyway, if it finishes with Sam, who was not really the last person to vote, he votes for Guyton as well. So Guyton's got 15. He stands up. It's really sweet again because he's standing with Roger, and we know that they've worked together before, so they know one another. And he says, "Well, my award-winning friend," and it's just quite a nice moment between them. And Guyton's got a great speech because he tells them he's had so much fun. He says they're all exceptional, but they're all big dum-dums. and they are, and I just laughed. And Annabelle's in tears, and he tells them that he's a faithful. And off he goes. I wonder if, as we watch the next few episodes, will Annabelle's really intense reaction come back to haunt her? I just wonder, in this game, people pick up on all sorts of things. They're desperate for clues. And I just wonder if someone's going to say at some point, "Annabelle, why were you so upset? That was a bit over the top." And they might think, and I think Annabelle she's not a traitor. She's faithful. So I think she was genuinely really just upset, and she loved Guyton and she didn't want to vote for him. So I think she just genuinely is really sad. But I think other people might look at that and think she's faking it.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, if she's going to be honest, she's going to have to throw Sam on that bus, because I think the tears were also, she's been under pressure.
Yeah.
She's just had him look at her in whatever way we think. I thought it was a bit more aggressive, and she might have thought, shit, I'm having to change the plan on the fly. I don't want to. But yeah, I think it's interesting because, again, I will say if she says she's a fan and this comes out, I don't know whether she will, but she said it to us, so it almost makes me think she has to. They'll kill her. Well done, murder, I should say. And then, but then, I don't know, she is, I mean, I want to tell you who I think will win at the end, but I don't think she'll either get far and go, or she'll be here for the next few episodes and gone within 2 or 3. I don't know what, she's a bit too, I think she's never mentioned she was a fan, she was get far. But now she's mentioned that, it's almost going to hit that, I think, if they find out.
Yeah, unless at some point in the season, Annabelle gets recruited as a traitor. Surely there's going to be some recruitments this season, so...
I've got some ideas. I've got a couple of ideas on that.
I have no inside
gossip
here. I don't know anything. That's just pure speculation. But I would love to see Annabelle get recruited as a traitor.
That's weird saying that, because I'm questioning myself. Sorry for cutting you there. I'm actually thinking we don't know what's happening because we've been so used to being careful. I'm like, I'm almost doing what they're doing, second guessing what I'm saying, going, Should I say who's going in? I'm like, yeah, because I don't know what's happening. I really don't.
Yeah, it's strange. So Guyton's gone. We're back to Traitor's Tower for the end of the episode. Blake says to Ash, "You need to be careful. People are going to wonder why Guyton threw your name out there." And then we cut to Sam looking so awkward because Sam's obviously thinking, "I know why Guyton put your name out there. It's me." But he's like, they're really struggling and thinking, "Oh God, don't let them talk. I don't want the truth to come out." Um, and then Ash asks him directly. She says, "Did you say I could be a traitor?" But he just lies. He just flat out denies it and says, "No." I think he could have got away with being a bit more. I think he could have said something like, "Yeah, I did say that, but it's because I was in a conversation with other people and someone else mentioned you, so I just went along with it." But then I deflected, and he could have just said something like that, but he doesn't. He just goes, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." So they start talking about who they're going to murder tonight. They think that they need to get rid of someone safe, someone who everybody trusts, who everybody universally agrees is a faithful. Probably someone who's quite quiet, someone who that everybody likes. And they talk about some options. They mention Payden, which I think is really interesting because this is such a U-turn from episode one. In episode one, Payden got into a bit of difficulties and he was in a sort of this kind of argument with Elias and Sarah. So I thought that I thought Payden would be somebody who was high up on people's suspicion list. But the traitors are talking about him as if now everybody loves Payden, nobody's suspicious of him. So I was quite surprised by that. They also talk about Camille. Maybe they should murder her. But they also think that she's quite cunning and clever and that maybe they could use her to turn on her next and get her banished instead of murdering her. They talk about Paul. They think no one's looking at Paul suspiciously. He's such a friendly guy. Everyone seems to really like him. Again, I this is a little side note. As they're discussing their potential murder victims, we see all their little VTs. We see their clips of them in their rooms doing various activities. So Paul's VT is him doing kind of exercises and stretches. Elias had the sexy shower scene. Payden is just him brushing his teeth. Like everyone else is doing like these really glamorous, sexy things, and then it's just Payden like brush, brush, brush. And then, I laughed so much at that. I don't know if it was supposed to be funny, but it really made me laugh. And so the episode ends there. It seems like the next murder victim will probably be either Payden, Camille, or Paul. So, Joe, we can be totally honest because we don't know what's coming next. Who do you think is going to be murdered?
Mm. Payden or Paul, even though I think they should go for Camille.
Okay, why do you think they should go for Camille?
Because I think she, with her job as an FBI agent, I think she's, and again, because we haven't seen much of these people, I always say people don't forget season one of Australia.
Yeah.
I think she's clever. I think she could go far if they don't. It's that whole thing of should have Annabelle out. But I think getting Paul out's a good one because he's quite strong at the minute and he's starting to get a presence. And I think Payden, you could do it, but then is he an easy banishment? They've got to weigh everything up in their heads. But I don't know, I think Payden or Paul will go.
I predict Paul is going to get murdered. I think he's everybody likes him and they seem to be listening to him at the banishment. So he kind of seems like a natural leader. And I just think traitors they don't want natural leaders who are really nice and likable. So I think Paul's going to go. He also, I'm being a bit sort of simple about this, but it reminds me of season one of the Traitors Australia, and the second person to go was a guy called Ethan, who was like a really a really good looking big buff guy that everyone seemed to really like, and he was good in the challenges, and they just got rid of him. I just think Paul falls into that. category.
Yeah,
So I think he will never get banished.
no,
Payden is at least maybe being a bit more quiet. I just think Payden will be easier to turn a banishment on than Paul. So
yeah.
I'm putting my money on Paul. I think he's going. But
Do
who
you think
knows?
if do you think if Paul was to get recruited, he'd turn it down? Because I actually think he
Um,
would.
it's difficult. I don't know. I don't know him well enough yet. Uh, I,
Mm.
I I'm not sure. I don't know. Actually, I'm going to just for the sake of it, I'll say no. I think he'd take it.
Mm.
I think most people would take it.
You'd be silly. I mean, not silly because again, you could get away with it, but it's a very silly. We've only seen one person turn down, and look
Yeah.
how that ends up.
Yeah, no, we've seen it in the UK where someone was offered recruitment, they turned it down, and I think they lasted one or two more episodes. I think
Yeah,
if you
if
turn
that.
recruitment down, and the traitors will just go right,
Mm.
goodbye.
Unless something else happens and it distracts. But
Yeah.
I do like Paul. I think that's the difference. I think he's one of those likable people in there, if not the
Mhm.
most. But I do have a, I do, I want to give a, I think, right.
Okay, I actually was going to ask you that next because I asked Lindsay in episode one this about her thoughts at this very, very early stage. Who do you think a traitor will win?
Yes,
Who do you think is going to win?
none of these three.
Do you think it'll be a recruit?
I think someone will get recruited. Can I tell you in my head what I think might happen?
Okay.
Right, so I think Sam, because we've seen the teaser for next time, and it basically may as well just says the tracer's gonna maybe go because of Ashton Sam. So I think one of them will go. Whoever's left over there, if not got left, longer left, because if Ash goes, Sam's gonna have to be boosted, and I think Ash eventually will go because she's too confident, which is a shame because she's just a confident woman. But in this game, it's like a balance of thingy. But I think they will go.
Although I think it's statistically, it's far more likely that a traitor will win. I'm going to say the Faithfuls will win this series
Yeah,
purely because I think production might just play with things in a way that helps the Faithful. I think production might want to see Faithful win. This is again pure speculation. I know
it
nothing.
is pure speculation.
I think production would like it if they had a season where the Faithful win and they'll put some things in place to help that happen. That's all. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, before we get to, we've been playing a game this whole time, and we're still playing our game,
Mm.
the Trade Our Traitor, where our aim is to lie to one another. Before we get there, we're going to devote 5 minutes or so to the Traitors New Zealand. Now, I am not going to do an entire podcast series on the Traitors New Zealand because sadly I have a full-time job and there are not enough hours in the day. But I'm going to watch it. I have started watching it, and I know that you have watched quite a lot of it so far, Joe. So I've only watched episode one, but I think you're the perfect person to talk to about this. And I know that a lot of
Yeah,
people listening who watch Traitors Australia will probably be watching New Zealand too.
yeah,
I just have a few things noted down that I thought would be really great to talk to you about.
of
Um,
course.
we'll just talk about episode one, even though I know you've
Yeah,
seen a lot more than that.
I've watched all four. Yeah,
Uh, what just generally, what do you are you enjoying it? Do you like it? What do you think?
really good. Don't like the host. Don't like that he's got wine in his hand every single cut. It is weird when we walk. So there is a banishment room, but as we walk in, it's a wine cellar.
Yeah.
So the walking through it's bottles of wine. Um, it's good. If I was a member of production, put it this way, I would be livid
Okay.
because it's. But what I love about it, and this is what I was saying about when we walk in the morning after, they don't do the two people coming in last.
Ah,
It's anybody,
okay.
which I'm like, they pick that up, so they are learning on the feet. But I will also say this in a spoiler, but don't play like the season one person who wants it because people are. It's weird. The people in New Zealand know this game,
Okay.
So they're picking up on people's body. If you're quiet, they're picking on it. They're not going, oh, they're like this. So it's interesting that it feels they've seen Australia and the UK, probably with the UK with the whole Australia UK thing. But yeah, it is a good set. I think maybe episodes 1 and 2 are a bit, but then it gets much. It takes a while to get used to it because you get used to a new cast. I'm also watching it alongside Australia, so I'm a bit like, but it's interesting because they only win, I think, 70 grams,
Okay.
which some of them have said they want to get a house for, and I'm like, I don't think you can get a house for 70,000 in New Zealand. Please correct me if I'm wrong, people from there, but I don't think it's that much. It's like 30,000 here, but it's good for what it is.
Yeah. I noticed a few things. I noticed that straight away they're very much leaning into the UK version. So the logo for Traitors New Zealand is the same logo as UK one, same colours, the same sort of font. Oh, I'm going to ask you this as well, Joe. I have just put a poll on. I was going to say Twitter. It's not Twitter. It's X. I've put a poll on X. I've put a poll on the podcast Instagram stories. The little logo from the Traitors UK and New Zealand, it's got like a face of what's supposed to be a traitor with a cloak.
Yeah.
I have always assumed that is supposed to look like Claudia Winkleman. And then only recently I thought, oh, I think I'm the only person that thinks that. On the Instagram poll so far, I've asked, do people agree with this? Is this supposed to be Claudia Winkleman? So far, 77% of people have said that they agree with me that it is supposed to be Claudia. Do you think that's supposed to be Claudia Winkleman?
It's interesting. I've just said yes because I've just looked at it. I've never thought of it like that. But the only reason that makes me think no is because every other host is a man.
I know. I just wondered if when they.
But that makes it more special because if it is based off her, she's the only. I think she'll be the only female host they've got. I think if you get more, you'll get more men. I think she's the only woman host you get.
It just looks like in the little icon or the little image. It almost looks like a fringe. It looks like a face with a fringe. So I just thought, oh, that's Claudia Winkleman. But now I look at it and I think, oh, is it just a shadow? But 77% of people so far agree with me. So hey,
and I've just said yes. I've just posted.
There we go. So you've upped it. But that wasn't even what I was going to talk about. I was just going to mention that it's the same sort of aesthetic as the UK one. They're using that logo. Lots of other the way that episode 1 begins is very much like how the Traitors UK began. So they do this task where they have to line up in order of who thinks they're going to do really well and who thinks that they might not win or so. So I actually thought they were going to copy the exact thing they did in the UK. I thought they would pick the last 2 people and say goodbye, you've gone. Instead, they do this really wild thing. The host, Paul Henry, who we'll come back to, Paul tells them there's $10,000 sitting on this podium, on this hill in the distance. If you want, you can run and get it now and leave and take $10,000. And I thought it was a joke. I thought, oh, that's not really going to happen. But they do. One contestant, I can't even remember his name, one contestant just does it. He runs, he takes the money, he gets in a car, he leaves. So someone has just got $10,000 for doing nothing, unless they're playing a trick on us. And you might know more than I do, unless he's going to come back later in the series and go, haha, I not really left. I mean, that might still happen later on. I don't know, but
I haven't. It was just, and it was a shame because that person's occupation, it would have been very interesting seeing them in that environment. So I was it was interesting. I actually didn't need to leave it because again, saying something, I was like, 5 of them might go here. And then it'd be like, bye-bye. And I thought, no way. Production be happy 5 people have just one stop.
Yeah, I'm amazed that more than one person didn't go for it. Because I was thinking, really honestly, I thought if I was there, I would be so excited to play the Traitors. I would be going, oh my God, this is amazing. But do I just forget it and leave right now? I think I would. I think I'd just be like, I'll just take $10,000 and go. I'm just like, it's such easy money. Like, I don't need to do anything. I just need to run over to that hill and grab it. So I would have gone for it.
I would have, but then in the back of my head, I'm like, all stars moments, I'll never get picked. So
I
I'd want to
guess,
try and test. But again, because again, that person hasn't come back from when I've seen, and again, there's four. So unless it's a twist later on, because this is a challenge where in the UK they came back,
yeah, yeah.
and I was like, oh, because he literally asked minutes, but no, he hasn't been back since.
The host you mentioned, you're not a fan. He's Paul
No,
Henry. I don't really know that much about him, but from what I've read, he's a very, very controversial figure. He's been, well, what you might say he's been cancelled, although he's obviously not been cancelled because he's back on a big primetime TV show. But a lot of people I know won't watch the show because they dislike him so much. I think he's said some really outrageous
yeah,
things in the past. So it's a strange choice for a host. It'd be
yeah.
like getting Piers Morgan to post the traitors or something.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the host. He's always drinking wine, which again is there a wine advertising deal that I'm unaware of? Cause, but they do actually drink a little bit, but I do believe they only have one drink rule in the Traitors, so it's interesting. But he's always drinking, so I'm like, and there is the wine cellar, so I'm like, maybe the wine is the branding for the show
Yeah, I'm just yeah,
because
it's
it has
weird.
had money. Well, say it's had money put in, it's 70,000. It's less than ours, so.
Mhm.
Don't know. Maybe they're just not 100%. Maybe they know putting him on's a big risk, which again, maybe next time don't.
Yeah. Or they maybe just deliberately chosen him because they know it will create some headlines and it'll
And
get
he's
people.
worked for them before, so it's easy to sell with someone you've worked on this network with.
Yeah. A couple of other things about Traitors New Zealand. They from episode one, they're doing these sort of mini missions, which I actually
Yeah,
quite like. So the
yeah.
traitors were given like a secret mission. It reminded me of like the Big Brother secret missions they would sometimes get. They had the traitors had to play a game of pool and try and pot a certain ball, and every time they did it, they would get a certain amount of money, $1,000. I quite liked that. And they did just sort of a little small mission around the house. They had to run around and look for these hidden coins. I liked it because even though it's quite small scale, it just felt more like this sort of murder mystery contained within a
Yeah,
house, sort of party games, which I quite
mm,
like watching. I don't need a big,
yeah,
gigantic, huge scale physical thing.
exactly.
So I thought that was fun. And
Mm.
lastly, I guess I would say about Traitors New Zealand, they might not last long, but there is a psychic in the cast, someone who claims to have psychic abilities, very much reminding me of Chloe from Traitors Australia season 1. Um, any thoughts on the psychic contestant?
She was okay. I think she was less. She was talking from herself, which I appreciated. She wasn't using other people.
Yeah,
And she actually, to me, she's harmless. She
yeah.
hasn't done nothing. Again, it's because we're not seeing everything. We don't 100% know, but to me, she's fine in this. And I actually think in New Zealand, a lot of them know each other.
Hmm.
That was something that really shook me. I was like, oh my God, half these contestants. I think one of them is like how they met the wife, which is like, God. But I almost am watching it thinking, I don't think they know each other that well. So, because doing stuff. And can I just say that Robin, the blonde woman,
Hmm.
she looks like, did you ever watch Christopher Eccleston's Doctor Who?
Yeah.
She was Rose's mother-in-law.
Oh,
She looked a
Jackie.
bit of Jackie. She's a cross between Tina Malone and Jackie from Doctor Who.
Yeah, there is a Jackie
And I really
lookalike.
like her.
Yeah, that's funny. Okay, I'll go and keep my eye on her. I'll keep watching Traitors New Zealand. I'm sure you will too. At some
Oh,
point,
definitely.
maybe later in the season, we could come back to it. We could do a bit of a recap and see how
Mhm.
things are going. Now, we've been playing our own game. We've been playing the Trade Our Traitor. So, Joe, you and I have been trying to lie to one another. I think last time we played this, you beat me and you did really well, and I couldn't detect you from memory. I told you a lie today. Have you told me a lie?
Yes.
Okay. I'm struggling. I'm really struggling. I only have two possible things that you lied about, and one of them not confident about at all.
Come on.
So I'm going to guess your lie. Is your lie? So you said something about how on the Traitors Holland, someone won a shield, and then it didn't matter because they ended up getting banished anyway. Was that a lie?
That happens.
So that was true.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. In that case, I really nothing you said was a red flag for me.
What was your second one? Didn't you have
My
another one?
second guess was going to be that the prize for New Zealand is $70,000.
That's also true.
Okay, because you said it more than once, I thought no, that must be true, and I just can't remember.
No, I was just worried thinking, was it actually, I was thinking myself a bit more, but I was like, no, it's not over 80, but it was 70. Because I watched it a few days ago, but yeah, they're both true.
Okay, in that case, can you reveal what did you lie to me about? How have you betrayed me?
So I am a huge women's wrestling fan. And I said Simone has worked on the American Indies. She's never worked in the
No,
US. She's a local indie wrestler, but I am backing her.
you know, I did think about that for a split second when you said it, but because I know that Simone has lived in LA for a while, I think she lives in Australia again, but she did live in LA for a while. So I thought, oh, that makes sense. She must have competed in America because she lived there. So I totally uh, threw that away. I thought, no, that's true. That he's telling the truth. Oh, I'm so
I
annoyed.
don't. So when I say that, I mean, so I just want people to know when I say indie circuit, I mean she may have worked the lowest American indie circuit, but she hasn't worked any big indie circuits
Yeah.
like a Shimmer or a big name. So I just want to make that clear to people. She hasn't
Oh
actually worked on
man.
any of the big scenes in America.
I'm so annoyed with myself. Well, you did very well there. So well done to you.
And I actually don't know what you like to say it down. So I don't.
So no ideas at all, no guesses.
Was it something to do with? Was it something to do with the New Zealand or something? Because otherwise I can't think. And it
No,
shouldn't be because I watched it
no,
now, as I was thinking.
nothing to do with New
Um,
Zealand.
was it Ash saying about the traitor slip or something?
No, that really
No.
happened. She said traitors by accident instead of faithful.
Yeah, oh, well, I don't know. Then you've got me. Could have been.
Okay. My lie was quite early. I was talking about the tracksuits and I said, oh, I need to get myself a red tracksuit.
Oh,
And then I said that on the
yeah.
Adidas website, you can get your name embroidered on the back. And that's a lie. I made that up.
Okay. Because when you were saying it was cheap for your Christmas present, I thought putting the lesson on the details, that was like, it's way over
Well,
100.
actually, they were like £70 or something, and I thought
Wow.
I don't really want to pay that, but I thought, you know what? I'm sure that's actually probably very reasonable. So,
Yeah. No, that's no, well done. You've got me there because I didn't either. I was going to make a joke about the masks they wore in episodes because I think in episode one of Australia they had them gold Viennese dye masks.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, I really want one. Like, where's this merch? But Charles had four of masks, but no, I was going to make that, but it didn't happen here. I was going to think of something to do with Annabelle, but I thought I can't because I kind of blew it before when I told you about Alice Tinker, so I couldn't even get away with that. But yeah, no, you can't be so well done.
We've done well. I mean, I suppose it makes sense because we both have been watching this show a lot. So we should be good liars. We should be good at tricking people. So it makes sense. Joe, thank you so much for joining me
Thank
again on
you.
the Trader. It's such a treat to have you. We've always got so much to talk about. I'm hoping that you will come back again at some point.
Oh, try and stop me.
Fantastic. I knew I could rely on you. I will talk to you soon. We'll talk about the traitors ongoing. I know we will. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye, bye.
Hello, faithful trader listeners. Thank you for joining me for the episode 2 deep dive with a little bit of bonus Traitors New Zealand thrown in. Just to update you, by the way, on my online poll, I asked people if the UK and New Zealand logo for the Traitors was based on UK host Claudia Winkleman. The options in my poll were yes obs or are you high? On X, the result was exactly 50-50, but over on Instagram, the real place to be, the results were 68% for yes obs and only 32% voted are you high. Therefore, that is conclusive, peer-reviewed, inscrutable evidence that without a doubt the logo is based on Claudia. I don't know who I was trying to prove something to there. I just wanted to settle a dispute in my head. I would also like to say a big thank you to Tim. Tim, whoever you are, I don't have a surname. You donated to my coffee.com page for the podcast, and I'm so grateful. That was really kind of you. If you're thinking, what? A way to donate? A way to get a shout out on the podcast? You can get involved too by visiting coffee.com/Matthew Keeley. I'm going to spell that. That's ko-fi.com/MATTHEWKEELEY, where you are able to make a one-off donation to help me with the various running costs of the podcast, because I have not won any silver bars yet and I'm running this at a loss. It's not a subscription or anything like that, and you can choose however much you'd like to donate to help keep the podcast going and, help me keep my sanity. Penultimately, like I've mentioned, I have some lovely guest co-hosts lined up for future episodes. In fact, I recorded episode 3 earlier today with a brand new guest co-host debuting on the podcast. Isn't it cool how I'm defying the laws of time and logic to record these in the weirdest order ever? However, it would be very cool to have some actual Australians join me as well. And I know lots of you are listening, which is fab. Possibly even some previous Australian Traitors contestants themselves who might want to return and host an episode with me. I think that would be awesome. Slide into my DMs, why don't you? Finally, you could do me a huge favour by subscribing, following, or leaving a lovely review on whatever platform you're using to listen, particularly Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And you can stay in touch on Instagram at the Traitors Podcast or X at the Traitors Pod, or you can email me at thetraitorspodcast@gmail.com. Episode 3 will be on its way in just a few days, and it is a biggie. Such a good one. Come back for that really exciting deep dive, and in the meantime, stay faithful.